Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to Kadic Reviews. I know, 2 in a week. Surprising. And considering that the Powerpuff Girls, well, made me feel like I wanted to commit suicide. Thankfully, the second one won't be as bad. Back when I was a PlayStation lifer, about 10 years ago, before the 599 nuclear bomb had been dropped upon us all and PlayStation lost all of its credibility, then young Insomniac Games left their successful Spyro the Dragon series to boot up Ratchet Clank, a 3D action platformer that was unlike anything we had ever seen before. 14 years and 14 games later, and a couple of console cycle jumps, hell, the Ratchet Clank series was one of the best, if not, in my opinion, the only reason to own a PlayStation 3 during that era. Sorry, Uncharted fans, I'm not letting it go. The Ratchet Clank series has always had one key word: consistency. It always has been consistently fun, consistently funny, and consistently polished. All of these things are on display with the 2016 reboot of the series, based upon the movie that comes out next week, April 29th, by the way. In no way is this an ad for that movie, although if you've seen the trailers, I'd give it a look with your kiddos. This game is not a remake. This game is not a reboot. This game is both of those things, but more specifically, it is an homage to the entire successful bit of the series thrown in, and it is by far the best game on the PlayStation 4, period. And it's saddening, actually, and rather humbling that it is. Not saddening for me, per se. It's saddening for all the people that bought in early to the PlayStation 4's massive overhype. That for 3 years of waiting for a game to define your console, the first game that actually looks on the right track happens to be a series that has always been on the right track. Maybe that kind of tells you what your console is. Because I tend to remember that The Last of Us, the Uncharted collection, and a God of War 3 remake also rank upon your highest selling titles. Just something to chew on. But anyway, the game follows the course of the movie, as the movie retells the meeting of Ratchet and Clank and pretty much the first story of the game. Almost cutscene for cutscene, nearly, with a few lines changed and added in. For the game's sake, it's narrated by the incarcerated Captain Quark, who is funny as ever and voiced by Paul Giamatti, which, by the way, he has done excellent in this role. He embodies all the egotism, self-righteousness, and embellishment that Captain Quark is known for. So if you love the character from the games like I do, Captain Quark is an absolute winner in this thing, vocal-wise. And the jokes are just as biting and brutal as they've ever been. But again, it being a retelling of the first game, you're not going to get any kind of fresh jokes outside of a couple of things added for the movie's sake. And this, there are some direct scenes from the movie implanted as cutscenes for the game. And trust me, they're gorgeous looking. In fact, that's the first word I would use to describe the new Ratchet Clank in game form. Gorgeous. In fact, this is the best looking game on the PlayStation 4 to date. Its color palette is beautiful, bright, and vibrant. Though comparison to a Pixar movie thing that you've been hearing is pretty much spot on, but I can still tell some video gamey things, but it's a minor nitpick at best. This is clearly the best looking that Ratchet Clank has ever looked, especially in the darker shaded levels, or where the color palette can be most appreciated by. It is a fantastic piece of work and is technically polished with little to no technical flaw. But leave that to Insomniac. They got Sunset Overdrive to be the most technically polished game on the Xbox One. So this is no surprise whatsoever. But enough about the technical stuff, because that's not what Ratchet is known for. No, it's known for its gameplay. The platforming, as always, is spot on, although the controls can be sensitive at times, and you'll make a few overjumps, similar to the first game, oddly. But where the controls really start to suffer are in the flying sections and the hoverboard sections. For the flying sections, they're not loose enough. They feel tight and slow, and maneuverability can be an issue. But once you get over it, and seeing that these sections are short, it will be a minor nitpick at best. They're not as fluid as the space combat in 2 or 3, but they're serviceable. It's really in the hoverboard stuff that the controls really get antsy. They are way too sensitive, and sometimes when trying to make a turn, you'll overshoot a turn and end up out of bounds, or you'll end up trying to straighten your hoverboard only to once again make a mistake and have it fall out of bounds. And using proper boost can even throw your hoverboard even further off case, meaning the 2 hoverboard races that you'll have to at least complete, 6 if you want the silver trophy for completing all the gold cups to get your Rhino card, which I'll explain the cards in a minute, will be a hampering. You'll be doing plenty of retries, maybe 2 or 3 before you get them down. But by and large, these 2 minor nitpicks of bad don't ruin the entire experience. Even the Clank levels are well thought out and easy to execute, although it will have to take using your eyeballs to fix some of the later Clank section puzzles near the end of the game. But again, they're only used once or twice, so they're not really there to aggravate you. They're just really, really good. But most of the time, you'll be playing as Ratchet, running and gunning your way through opposition. And as always, Ratchet Clank's guns are the fun. Straight up from 2002 to now, it's always been about the gats. The Gadgetron vendor is loaded with them this time, and all of them besides one, the Pixelizer, are all homages to the games they've come from. Weapons like the Preparator, show from Ratchet Clank 1 to the Glove of Doom of 2 to the Gloobatron of later future games to the Blades of 3 to the Mr. Zircon of Into the Nexus to the Plasma Striker of 2. All these weapons of a history through Ratchet Clank's, history, and they all pack the same level of punch. But they wouldn't be weapons without the upgrade system. The upgrade system made famous from 2 and 3 remain perfectly intact. As you defeat enemies, you'll gain experience for both your weapons and yourself. Which, by the way, if you play the game correctly, you should be able to do both in relatively quick time near the end of the game. Each weapon upgrades 5 times, but you'll have to use the new modification system straight from the later PS3 games to finish leveling them off, which is easy enough thanks to Raritanium being throughout every stage of the game. Raritanium can also be picked up by defeating certain numbers of enemies in a massive row of destruction too, and the upgrades have immediate and noticeable pop, especially between levels 4 and 5. They're mostly worthy additions, and you'll want to fully modify every weapon you can, although it won't be possible to do it unless to do it to them all without 2 or 3 runs at the least. And that second run is the world famous challenge mode run. And this is where the new card collection comes in. Throughout the game, you'll be given a small assignment to finish several different card sets. Every card set you complete will give you a bonus towards game, like more Raritanium, more bolts, and most importantly, Omega weapons. Omega weapons can only be unlocked once you've beaten the game once, and if you've completed the card set for each individual weapon. This allows each weapon to be upgraded an additional 5 times, plus added with some more modifications. Now keep in mind, the Omega weapons cost more bolts than their original, and you'll need those extra bolts with a bolt multiplier being added back into the game. This is a big reason to go through the game at least twice, if not to get those elusive gold bolts for cheats, finish modifying weapons that you couldn't the first time through, and basically to have a fun time with your overpowered arsenal the second time. Clank sections are straight up ripped from the second game, and they play beautifully. And plus, it's never looked better. And the weapon order has been modified to have the Rhino in it too. Yes, the infamous super weapon is back through the card collection. 7 cards throughout the game make up the infamous super weapon. If you can get it, you can fully modify it, which should be easy enough considering the Rhino deals death at amazing speed. Trust me, I used the Rhino to beat the final boss in a matter of seconds. Just trust me on that. Also, there are plenty of gadgets and submissions and hidden trails to find more card facts, and just generally look around the environment. And practically everything that can blow up will blow up, and blow up real nice. The music is given an orchestral score and sounds absolutely beautiful. And there are some nods back to the original tracks from the original game, but you'd have to have a subtle ear in order to see it. Plus, the controls take a more modern D-pad approach to weapon selecting, but in case you're old school, there's always the classic wheel method as well. So, for fans old and new, there's a control scheme for you. As well as funny nods throughout to other moments in the series, and funny little Easter eggs. So, for even fans of the old school games, and yes, even the Insomniac Museum makes a this is more of a big giant thank you note from the guys at Insomniac for making this series have this tremendous success to have this movie being thrust upon them. And really, the movie characters are a nice new addition that add depth to the world of the game and add some funny jokes to boot. Although, one character that I would complain about is Alonzo Drake. In the original game, the performance for Alonzo Drake was a lot better and a lot more dry and sarcastic with clever jokes and humor. In the new game, however, he just comes off as a snooty businessman, losing his dry celebratory panache, and comes off as just dark and sarcastic and a fool. And yes, he is kind of the second fiddle of this game. I won't go any further than that, but it's a sad, wasted opportunity. Every character else in the voice acting crew does an excellent job and should be commended for their time well done. Yes, the story will only take you about 6 to 8 hours the first run, but the game's not intended to be run just once. And trust me, you won't. Especially if you want the fully upgraded weapons and just playing around. You'll be playing this game for more hours than you would originally intend. And that's the whole entire thing of Ratchet Clank in a nutshell. This is the PlayStation 4's best game. It is the best Ratchet Clank game thus far. But it's a perfect homage back to the 14-year history of a game that has already started out excellent and is now headed to a next generation of even more excellence. I can only hope for, hint hint Insomniac, sloppy seconds to await me. I know it's been 11 years since I've last played one of your Ratchet games. It feels great to be back. Keep up the consistency and the good work. Ratchet Clank gets a 9 out of 10 from me, and a solid recommendation, especially at its budget price of $40. Don't be the fool to skip out on this because it's something old. It's definitely something polished and something to really be appreciated. I'm Nirvana Sparkle. Find peace in your own Nirvana, and thanks for watching. If you want more Kadic Reviews, there's an entire playlist sitting at the channel page for you to check out. And if you missed out on the last Kadic review for the Powerpuff Girls, make sure to check that out as well. And all of our pony content. And if you want to keep up with everything Code Equestria, make sure to hit the sub button. And don't feel free to leave comments and suggestions for future reviews. So, we'll see you next time.